Working Sue with a tarp has been a pretty big project. In the beginning, she'd come in and pretty much just not even look at the tarp and just run around on the wall and not even acknowledge it or anything. And we've worked her, I think this is about the fourth time we've worked her with the tarp. See how she's not even wanting to get close. And you'll see in a minute she'll just want to move her feet and kind of run away from it. And I'll show you, she ends up getting on the tarp today, and I'll show you how we work through that. She's probably one of the worst ones we've had about working with the tarp in a really long time. Right there, Robert's just walking her around it, not really asking her to go across, just walk around and stop and acknowledge and look at it. Just that has been an issue. See right there, as soon as she stops, she wants to back away and get really far away from it. She tries to not look at it, tries to ignore it, hide from it. This video is going to be kind of long because I'm not cutting anything out. I want you to see the whole process and actually see how long we spend just waiting for her to accept it. I think that's really important that you see how patient we are in just letting her look at it. So what we'd like to do here is Robert would like to get on and her just stand there. It ends up not working out. You'll see he'll get on and she'll leave pretty strong. As soon as he gets in the saddle, what she has been doing is just basically going to the wall and running around, acting like she was terrified of the tarp. See, every time he goes to step up, she's backing up. She wants to back up and leave. And really would like him to step up there and her stay. It's what we're after here. We're not really going to get it. That's something we're going to have to just work on. Right there, and she goes to leave. And we're not going to force her to stay there. We don't want to get into a fight trying to make her stay right by the tarp. See how she's got some distance and she's just kind of running around the tarp. And that's how it has been the last couple times that we worked with her. But we actually make progress, and she gets on the tarp today. So you're going to see how we accomplish that. We're not going to force her on the tarp, but what we do want to do is just keep her head looking at the tarp, relax, and wait for her to slow down and just relax and acknowledge the tarp. There she's wanting to leave, so we just make her point to it and just wait. In the beginning, those rares and pop-ups and hops was pretty big. She gets herself really worked up. And what we have to do is just wait. He's not really asking her to go anywhere. He's trying to keep her facing the tarp. And just relax there. Now she's starting to slow down and really look. This is the stage that we've really been waiting for. This is the first time we've got this. That's why I wanted to show you this, because there's going to be a big difference here now that she's starting to slow down and actually look at the tarp. Before, she was just kind of running away blindly. He never does really ask her to move forward to the tarp. We just ask her to stand and look at it. And you'll see how we get her to go over the tarp. This isn't how we normally do it, but this is how we did it with her, and it worked for her. Watch Robert's hands and feet. Once in a while, you'll see him kind of encourage her to move. Right there, she took a step back, so he encouraged her to move her feet. We don't really want to step backwards. If she'll just stop and look, he's just going to sit there. You'll see in a minute she's going to put her head down and actually put her nose close to it. She starts off with a cone, and Robert's just going to give her slack and give her time to look at it and take it in. But the whole key to this is patience. If you start kicking and trying to force it, if you lose your patience and you get frustrated and you try to start forcing it, then you're just making the problem worse. Now she put her head and touched the cone, and we're just going to sit there a minute. She wanted to leave. Robert pulled her head back to it. If she goes to back up, Robert's going to have her move her feet. If she'll stop without backing up, he's just going to leave her alone. Now, when he goes to move her feet, he's not going to kick to go across the tarp. We're going to move her feet around the tarp. That's a big key there. She'll end up getting on the tarp, but if you start kicking to try to kick them on the tarp, you're just going to end up with a problem. That was better. You're actually looking at the tarp. I did a video of Dan, and Dan's a good bit younger than her. I think Dan's 4. I think she's 8, if I remember right. Dan's a pro at this. If you want to watch his video, he came out and within just a couple of minutes, he was going across tarp, and now he plays with it. And similar with Steele. Steele had a hard time with the tarp. Now he's really good with it. It takes time. You have to build their confidence. Don't force them, because if you force them to it, then they're just scared of it. Give them a chance to take it in, acknowledge it, learn that it's okay, and it's not a big deal. It's just that horses like her that start off with such a big reaction, it's hard to be patient and be calm, but that's the key. Now she took a step back. Robert asked her to move her feet. There you see, he encouraged her forward, and then when she put her head down to the tarp, he stopped pumping. Now, some horses, you get to this point, and they will learn that if they put their head on the scary object, in this case a tarp, you'll quit bumping. So there are cases where you have to escalate from this, but you have to really understand your horse and what your horse is thinking at that time. Because if you do that, you can either make the problem better or you can make the problem worse. A big key in that is make sure that your horse is consistently progressing. You'll see here with her, well, and all along, even before this video that you're seeing, we're not letting her get kind of stuck in any part of her training. If she gets stuck, we're going to make something happen one way or another. As long as she's progressing on her own like this, we let her progress. But if they get to a point where they are like her putting her head on the object to get you to quit kicking and you're not progressing from there, you have to make something happen. You'll see in a minute we reach that point and we make something happen. Bumping there to move her feet because she was far away. Now at this point she has put her head down and touched the tarp a couple of times, so we're not going to accept anything less. If she wants to do anything up to that, we're not going to accept that. We're going to push her at least to put your head down and acknowledge it. If she gets farther away from the tarp, too far away to do that, we're gonna push her. We're gonna make her go back to this point that we know she is okay with. Now we're kind of point to the point here where we're encouraging something to happen because she's put her nose down quite a few times. She should have learned that it's not going to hurt her. We're kind of at that point where she's learned that it isn't hurting her. She's kind of over the scared of it. She's getting a release from the pressure from us. So she's getting pretty comfortable there. So we're going to have to make something happen here in just a minute. If you're wondering why the cones are on there, the cones are just to kind of keep it from blowing much. We don't get a lot of wind, typically don't. We get some, but not as much as a lot of other parts of the country. But the cones are just to kind of keep it from rustling too bad. Today there actually wasn't hardly any wind, but I still put the cones on it to kind of hold it still from blowing too bad. You know, right there when she gets far away, Robert's going to encourage her back up again. See, bumping back forward. We're not going to accept her backing off of it. Now I'm coming out, I got a bucket with a little bit of feed in it, where I said we have to make something happen. We can't just let her keep putting her nose on it to get a release from the pressure. Everybody that follows me knows that I really don't use feed very often. But to get her more comfortable with the tarp and actually wanting to step on the tarp, I'm putting a little bit of feed down on the tarp. Don't typically have to go to this tactic, but I am with her because she's been so hard getting used to a tarp. And where I said make something happen, this is what I'm talking about. I'm going to make something happen. I put a little bit of feed on the tarp itself. I let her eat a little bit of feed out of the bucket. And pretty much Robert's just giving her some slack on the reins and just sitting there. So what I would really like to see happen at this point, I would like for her to get all 4 feet on the tarp, and then Robert be able to step down while all 4 feet are on the tarp. It doesn't happen. We're not able to step down at that point, but what we accomplish here is pretty good. It's something to build on for the next time. I don't like that I had to put feed on the tarp to get her on it, because she's gonna look for feed all the time, and if there's no feed, she might refuse to get on a tarp. I want her to go across the tarp because we asked her to go across the tarp. So we still have a really long ways to go here. We have put her in a stall and put a bunch of feed bags on the floor with her in the stall, and she's okay with the feed bags. She'll step all over them in the stall. Usually when we have one that don't like a tarp, we use that to try to get them used to the stuff making the noise on the stall floor, them stepping on it, blowing around, moving around, that kind of thing. And we've done that with her, and she's perfectly fine walking on feed bags in her stall. I think I have 3 of them living with feed bags in their stall right now. Again, we just no forcing. It's important that really, especially in this situation, trying to force something, force them onto the tarp. You typically can't force them onto the tarp. You do reach points where you have to try to make something happen, whether that's good or bad. And at this point, we're just trying to let her eat the feed off the tarp. Create a good experience with the tarp is really all we're after right here. This is not going to help with us driving her across the tarp. That's something else we're still going to have to address later. Getting her to go across the tarp because we bumped and asked her to go. This will make her less afraid of the tarp, but it's not going to help with us sending her across the tarp. That's something else we're going to have to address later and on another day when we get further along. We've had to break this whole tarp learning session or tarp learning process up in a whole bunch of different little sessions with her, way more break it up way more with her than we typically do with other horses. We do have some training openings coming up. If you'd like to contact me about getting your horse into training, you can message me or you can send me an email. My email is rideslide@hotmail.com, or you could shoot me a message through Facebook Messenger. She has all 4 feet and about a 2-foot square there. It's kind of funny because she wants the food bad enough that she's eating the food. She's still worried about the tarp, but not worried enough to not eat. Really like to get all 4 feet on the tarp and then Robert be able to step down. That would be our ideal ending. We don't get it. You'll see what we get here in a minute. This kind of thing requires so much patience, and this is where a lot of people that don't have patience end up blowing up a lot of horses because you start trying to force something to happen. There she backs back off, and we're going to see if we can get her back on it again. She really didn't have the back feet on the tarp good. Really would like to get them a little further on the tarp. I'd like to get her so that she really knows she's all the way on the tarp. See, now Robert's using her feet to encourage her forward. This will help. This will help as far as driving her forward onto the tarp, but we're not really doing enough of it here for her to really get the fact that Robert's sending her on the tarp. She's more going on the tarp because of the feet. In the future days of working her with the tarp, we'll have to do more driving her on the tarp, but her accepting that. When she came, she has had a lot of riding time and is actually really well broke. When we first get on her, she gets on pretty quick and moves out pretty quick. That's probably my only complaint with her. When you first get on, she's moving on somewhere. But she's not bad about it. She's not running off or anything. She's just ready to go somewhere. So we've been working on trying to slow that down. But once you get that slowed down, she's really nice. My granddaughter has put a few rides on her, riding her around, and she's very good for my granddaughter. Really nice broke horse as far as just going and putting some miles on her and going somewhere. That part's really good. Just some of this object despooking seems to be her weak area. So that's where we've been spending a lot of time. Now she's got both back feet on good. This is nice. I was trying to see if she'd go ahead and just walk across the tarp. If she'd walk across, then we would accept that. But she doesn't. She's making sure she don't miss any. She's eating every little piece of feed on the tarp. There, right there. I thought she was going to come on across, but she didn't. Still has a little bit sticky feet on the tarp. There, she ate it all and backed off. Now, we did go ahead and step off here. It's not really my ideal. I would have rather been able to step off over standing on the tarp. But this is progress. This is better than what we were getting. There, she put her nose back to the tarp. Better than what we were getting. So we're going to reward the progress and keep working at it. And we'll keep working her with this tarp, and eventually I'll show you a video of her being really good with it. Until next time, thank you for watching.